Powered by Riverside.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wolverine Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Codd, and riding with you solo this week, as unfortunately Jake could not make the show this week. Ended up having to take care of some stuff with himself. But it'll be you and I rolling solo this week post Sonoma. And man, lots of topics coming out of this race. And the question I want to ask the audience tonight before we get started, and if you're listening to us live on Facebook and YouTube, feel free to chime in. Blue Engine chat line wide open for all of our fans this evening as we discuss multiple topics. Feel free to share your thoughts on some of these topics as well. But the question I want to ask the audience tonight, before we even get started, is: has Sonoma lost its lore? Because I want to tell you right now, folks, watching this race this past weekend, I've heard a lot of other podcasters, and I'm going to be right there with them. This was a C-minus level race, guys. This was a C-minus level. But I want to hear some of your thoughts and some of your opinions. We'll loop back into the discussion on Sonoma this evening. But first things first, again, if you're listening to us and you love what you're hearing, feel free to follow us on Facebook at The Broken Wolverine Podcast, YouTube at The Broken Wolverine Podcast. Smash the follow buttons on both of those. Feel free to follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. If you miss our live streams on Wednesday nights, we'll have the previous episode posted on those streaming platforms for your listening viewership. If you have friends that you feel like that will love listening to us talk, Jake and myself, have them go on our Facebook page. Obviously, have them follow. But if they're lazy, they don't follow, don't worry. There's an opportunity for you to help us out. And that's going on our Facebook page. Go to the three dots, and you can invite your friends who love NASCAR into our Facebook page as well. So multiple ways to continue showing the love and the support. We appreciate everybody, and I appreciate it a ton for all the love and the support as always. Other show announcements this evening. Folks, we are a few weeks away now from Richmond Raceway. And as you've been hearing pretty much throughout the whole entire spring, going into summer, that's right, Broken Wolverine Podcast, we will be down at Richmond, not back. First time ever at Richmond. So if you missed us at Dover, you missed us at Pocono, don't worry. One more shot, one more opportunity. We'll be live down at Richmond on August 15th. For the night race at Richmond. So looking forward to seeing some of our fans down in Richmond, Virginia. So couple of the show announcements before we get started. First comment on our Blown Edge chat line comes from Philip. He goes, basically off of our question, it didn't have much excitement. Racing was mediocre. Environment looked basic. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. And Phil, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. While I'm watching this race from Sonoma, let's call it as is. The 5 races on Amazon Prime, folks, all sold out, all had excitement. Racing within itself was absolutely incredible at all 5 of the tracks. There was just a lot of juice within the Amazon Prime schedule, right? Those 5 races. Going into Sonoma, you're coming off of 5 straight sellouts. You're coming from Charlotte, Charlotte, Nashville, Michigan, Pocono, and San Diego. All sold out. I feel like a lot of people within the industry was a little nerve-wracked that, well, what's going to be the attendance like at Sonoma? And when you watch it on TV, exactly what we all thought it was. Not full, not empty. But has Sonoma lost its door? And that's going to be the big question as we go into tonight. Let's take on our NASCAR headliner courtesy of jski.com. Follow them on X, Facebook, or by web at www.jski.com. First things first, let's talk about it. Shield AI, official technology partner of 23XI Racing. They will be sponsoring Corey Heim at Chicagoland. So, pretty sick paint scheme in my opinion. Red, white, and blue. I'm a big red, white, and blue fan. And of course, we're on the 4th of July weekend now. So I'm hoping that more cars are in the red, white, and blue paint scheme. But Corey Heim will be sponsored by Shield AI in this race on Sunday. Nelson ratings coming out from Sonoma, the Sonoma TV ratings, and we're going to be talking about Sonoma a lot tonight. What did the fans and what was the viewership of this? And for all the fans that complained, Amazon Prime taking away all of the views, like NASCAR is screwing the sport up by going to Prime, they're going to lose viewership. Oh, TNT, we have it back on cable. Nelson ratings, it averaged a 1.8 million viewership on TNT Sports on Sunday at Sonoma. Where are the fans that complained that Prime was destroying NASCAR? Where are you? TNT's on basic cable. You guys complained that we all needed on basic cable. 1.8 million viewers on TNT for race number 1 of their schedule. So I don't want to hear about how Prime's destroying the sport. Maybe bad racing product is destroying the sport. Update number 3, Alex Bowman. He expects contract talks with Hendrick Motorsports to be resolved sooner rather than later. Very interesting in my personal opinion. I think at this point, with the way a lot of the silly season rumors have been going, it looks to me, from what I understand within the industry, it looks like Alex Bowman could be back on a 1-year deal. And I think that this is a good move for both sides, right? Alex Bowman is a veteran driver. He has won races in the Cup level. Is he as good as his 3 other teammates? No, not really. But what's your best option at this point? What is the best option? I'm going to tell you right now, nobody. There's not going to be the veteran driver coming out in the market. Reddick got signed. Blaney ended up getting a long-term deal. I'm sure that Hendrick Motorsports kind of wanted to hit that. One of those big veteran free agents. Unfortunately, they all resigned. So the next best thing at this point, if I'm Hendrick Motorsports, get the deal done with Alex Bowman. Let him race in 2027. Have it done after 2027. And give more opportunity and more time for Corey Day to develop in the O'Reilly series. And I think he'll be ready to go probably in 2028. Update number 4 this week. Red Bull, if you're a big Red Bull fan, they're going to be releasing NASCAR-themed cans featuring Connor Zillage and Shane Van Gisbergen. I love this. I am a big stickler with this, right? I love this move by Red Bull. You got 2 drivers that are sponsored by them in the sport. And I think it's a great opportunity for more marketing within the industry. Something that NASCAR, I think, in my personal opinion, NASCAR kind of lacks behind. But I also don't think that they have the sponsors at this point to be doing a lot of fun sponsorship stuff, right? Years ago, right, when M&M's was in the sport, it was a fun sponsorship because you guys see Kyle Busch in the grocery store all over the place, right? Lowe's. I'm a big Lowe's fan. I don't even shop at Home Depot because I hate Tony Stewart that much. I hate Stewart that much. That's why I don't shop at Home Depot, but I shop at Lowe's. Why? Because I was a Jimmy Johnson fan. Now, I'm off topic from NASCAR. I'm not naive. If I need to get something that's only at Home Depot, I'm going to go get it. But the point is that sponsorships in the sport, continue marketing. Love this move on what we're seeing from Red Bull with the NASCAR themed cans featuring Zillage and Shane Van Gisbergen. Next update. Goodyear, they made an announcement that they will be going with the same tire package at Chicagoland this week that they ran at Nashville and Michigan. So some pretty interesting news. Hopefully we see a little tire fall off, which I'm hoping for. I think everybody is. Next update, Ty Dillon will be making his 300th career Cup Series start at Chicagoland. Crazy to think that already, right? 300 career starts for Ty Dillon. God, I mean, I remember, I think we all do. We all remember when Ty Dillon was driving the Geico 13 car, right? But he'll be making his 300th career Cup start at Chicagoland. So, and final update this week coming from jski.com. If you had not seen this or not heard about it, Ryan Blaney is going to be hosting a NASCAR Studios show exclusively on YouTube. Ryan Blaney and celebrity guests as join Ryan Blaney and the celebrity guests as the 2023 Cup Series champion, wheels them around the track for adrenaline-filled conversations that unfold unlike anything possible in conventional interview setting. On the Gas with Ryan Blaney, presented by Body Armor Sports Drink, that's the name of the show. This will debut actually today, July 1st. The first season consists of 4 episodes, each approximately 20 minutes long, and features celebrities Keegan-Michael Kay and Chad Ochocinco, plus popular YouTube creators Weston Chaplin and The Strayed Man. Fresh off his starring role in the latest installment on Amazon Prime Video's Eli Manning Presents The Undercovers, Blaney gives his guests far more than a typical pace car or hot laps ride. The number 12 Penske driver treats them to a real NASCAR racing experience, blending adrenaline of the sport with the unscripted interviews, capturing authentic and often hilarious moments as they react in real time to the intensity of the ride. Getting the chance to share what makes NASCAR so exciting with people from different worlds was a lot of fun, said Blaney. Whether it was taking Keegan, Chad, Weston, or the Strand Man around the track, every episode brought a different perspective and some unforgettable moments. I think the fans are going to enjoy seeing these big personalities experience the speed, competition, and culture of our sport up close. So, Ryan Blaney will be hosting NASCAR Studios show exclusively on YouTube called On the Gas with Ryan Blaney, and it actually opened up today. So, those are all the sponsorship updates. Again, all courtesy of jski.com. Follow me on by X, Facebook, and by web at www.jski.com. I'm going to say, I think that, going back to the Ryan Blaney show, I think that's so cool. We were just talking about with Red Bull, right? How can we continue marketing the sport to different fans? How can we continue marketing our sport to get more fans invested? And I think a show like this is going to nail it out of the park, right? Bring the racing to the fans. And a show like this, you have familiar faces on the show while Ryan Blaney drives around hot laps, doing interviews and all that type of stuff. It gives perspective of, and let's call it as is. I know a lot of people find actors weird, athletes, they're in sport, whatever. The thing that these people have is a lot of followers, and they have a lot of fans. So if your favorite actor is in that car with Ryan Blaney, right, why not give it a shot? Why not give the show a shot and go, oh, wow, okay, we might be able to pick up some of the fans from there. I'm going to tell you right now, I love what NASCAR is becoming, and especially when we saw it we saw it more so at San Diego, right? I mean, Marshawn Lynch has been at multiple races this year, and a lot of people don't even realize that. Marshawn Lynch was a former NFL superstar running back for the Seattle Seahawks and the Buffalo Bills. He's got a really big following. A lot of people love following Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch is just a down-to-earth, genuine dude. And again, this is another opportunity. It's like, let's branch out to these fans of these celebrities. If my favorite celebrity is on that show, I don't watch NASCAR, but my favorite celebrity is on the show, why not give it a shot? Why not give the show a shot? Hey, something I never thought in my entire life. Now all of a sudden that fan is like, wow, okay, these cars are actually really fast. It's really fun and all that type of stuff. You know what? I'm going to start watching the races. Let's call it as is. We need to find the next generation of fans. We do. Yes, the sport is not going back to the late 90s, early 2000s. I'd be surprised if that ever happened again. But at the same time, we can elevate the fan base again. We can. It's a fun sport. Never been to a track? Gotta go. Gotta go. You're going to be instantly hooked and you're going to fall in love with it. All right. Let's get into our racing discussion at Sonoma this week. So, all right, we had the 2026 Toyota Save Mart 350 this past Sunday from Sonoma. And as I opened up the show, the first question I asked was, has Sonoma lost its lure? And we had Philip already chime in on the Blended chat line. Again, if you're listening to us live, feel free, Facebook, YouTube, listening to us free live, feel free to comment on the Blended chat line. Give us your thoughts and your opinions about this racetrack. Usually in this segment, I'll turn the mic over to Jake. He explains how he felt about the race, and we'll go back and forth on a little dialogue. But we're going to pass I'm going to be the one that's going to talk about what we saw from Sonoma this evening or on Sunday. And again, anyone listening to us live, feel free to chime in with your comments. Sonoma, again, to me, to answer my own question, has it lost its lure? I believe it has. I personally believe Sonoma has lost its lure. I think Sunday's race, I don't think it was TNT's fault. I just think it's Sonoma in general. Sonoma, to me, on my grading scale, that race was a C-. The last 5 weeks have been immaculate. Charlotte, Nashville, Michigan, Pocono, San Diego. All 5 of those races had great storylines. The racing within itself was absolutely immaculate. There was a lot of battles in between the field. We saw a driver multiple times come from last to first. Nashville and Michigan, Denny Hamlin. We had a first-time winner in there. We had a guy run out of gas. Miscalculation. There was a lot of fun racing. This past week at Sonoma, in my personal opinion, felt very, very robotic. It was a very robotic race. The atmosphere did not feel like what we felt the last 5 weeks. It just felt like, all right, we're at Sonoma. That's that. And is it because the fans, in my opinion, do I think that the fans have road course fatigue? I don't necessarily think that's true. I do think that NASCAR fans do like road courses. But I think that with the way that this car has driven on the road courses in the next gen, lack of tire fall off, and a race winner who literally has just come over from New Zealand and is completely shit on the field, I think a lot of fans are fatigued. And let's call it as is with Sonoma, right? I guess my next question to the audience: when was the last great Sonoma race? This track to me has felt very dead for years. And for me, the last great Sonoma race I thought was 2019. 2018, 2019. Granted, Truex won. But the thing is that they ran the carousel. And I think that the carousel, in my personal opinion, made this racetrack a lot more entertaining. You had multiple different passing zones, passing grooves. Yeah, it was a shorter of a distance. But I felt like there was more creativity to the track. They added this short chute back on, I believe it was 22, if I'm not mistaken. And since the short chute came back to the schedule, again, it just has felt robotic. And it's very difficult to sell this to the fan base. It just is. In my opinion, Sonoma was very successful in the Gen 4 era. It was a very fun race in the Gen 4 era. Even the car tomorrow, which I completely hated. They had some of the best races in that generational car. They did at Sonoma. But since then, it's just been robotic. Now, this past week, right, we talked about it. SVG came over from New Zealand, has now completely just become the road course king. Am I mad that SVG is winning all these races on road courses? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it's immaculate what we're watching. And I tell people all the time, I'm a big Tom Brady guy. And everyone goes, well, why don't you hate Tom? Why do you love Tom Brady and don't hate him? Well, you know what? It's greatness. You'll never experience this again. And that's how I feel with SVG right now. What he has been able to accomplish on the road courses, we probably will never see again. And the other thing, too, is that SVG didn't win all 4 road courses this year. He didn't. Reddick won COTA. Corey Heim won the San Diego Street Course. SVG won Watkins Glen and Sonoma. But a lot of the fans are checked out because it just doesn't seem like the field's finally catching up to them. It doesn't. And we can say, oh, well, last week, at San Diego, look what happened. Corey Heim I'm interested to see what would have happened if SVG didn't end up getting wrecked. Because I do think that he would have been a massive player in that race. But shoulda, woulda, coulda, Monday morning quarterback. It doesn't happen. We move on. Let's get to Phil on the Blue Ninja chat line. Phil goes, best part of the race was hearing SVG say his car was terrible and lead 75% of the laps. Yeah, it's pretty much accurate, right? SVG, absolutely terrible car, quote unquote, all that type of stuff. Now, I will say, with this race, even though I think that this was a C- level race, we did have a race at the end that was getting very heated and close. Got to give credit and love to Chase Briscoe. Briscoe finished second and nearly almost beat SVG. And as the announcer said in the race, Dale, Adam, and Steve, they said it. They're like, he just needed one more lap. If he had one more lap, he would have gotten SVG. But again, 110 laps, they made the distance. Sometimes I hate that expression. He just needed one more lap. Just needed one more lap. Well, guys, we all know what the scheduled distance is. He didn't get there. It's over. Final running order from the 2026 Toyota Save-Mart 350 from Sonoma, courtesy of NASCAR.com. SVG ended up winning this race, followed up by Chase Briscoe, who finished second. Ty Gibbs ended up finishing third. Kyle Larson ended up finishing fourth. Christopher Bell finished fifth. Ryan Blaney finished sixth. Connor Zilic finished seventh. Ryan Preece finished eighth. Michael McDowell finished ninth. And Alex Bowman finished 10th. Your stage 1 top 10. Ty Gibbs won the stage, followed up by Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Preece, Alex Bowman, Shane Van Gisbergen, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, and Riley Herbst. Stage 2 top 10 was Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell, AJ Allmendinger, Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, Zane Smith, Shane Van Gisbergen, Connor Zilic, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney. Final laps led from Sonoma this past week. Well, SVG led 74 laps. Followed up by Ty Gibbs, who led 31. Kyle Larson led 2. Ryan Blaney led a lap. William Byron led a lap. And last but not least, we had Ross Chastain lead 1 lap. Again, SVG completely dominated. Led 75% of the race. And that's usually when we do these orders. Now, in 2 weeks when we go to Atlanta, there's probably going to be about 25 different drivers that lead a lap. But here at Sonoma, we only had basically 5 drivers, or we had 6 drivers, lead laps in this race, and 2 of them led more than 5 in Ty Gibbs and Shane Van Gisbergen. That's the final running order from Sonoma, courtesy of NASCAR.com. But going back to the SVG, like I said, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Trackhouse knew exactly what they were doing back in 2023 when they brought this guy over. Ended up winning on the Chicago Street Course. Had a lot of fun in NASCAR. What did he end up doing? Ends up signing a deal with Trackhouse Racing. Went to college as a developmental driver essentially in 2024. Basically was there to capture road course wins. And then, of course, in 2025, makes his debut with Trackhouse Racing. And can't blame Trackhouse, right? You want to put a car in the playoffs? Well, why not get one of the best road course racers in the industry, put him in our car? Well, when we had the playoff system, we're already a lock in the playoffs. This year, or in 2025, excuse me, folks, SVG, 2 road course wins, Watkins Glen, Sonoma. Right now, while a lot of people are complaining about SVG winning road courses, SVG is 14th in the points. He's 14th in the points. Yes, has led and won on the road courses, led majority of his laps on the road courses. But to me, he has progressively gotten better on the ovals. He has. And it was interesting because I was asked this question too by somebody this past week. My friend Tyler from Full Throttle Media, which again, we are a Full Throttle Media company. He asked me a question for the podcast this week. Is SVG a Hall of Famer? Is Shane Van Gisbergen a Hall of Famer at this point in his career? And it was a good discussion him and I had. And essentially for me, I said, no, not yet. He's at 8 wins. I need at least 10. And I do need at least a couple wins on ovals in the remaining part of his career. He's 37 years old. I do personally think that he's going to race until he's 42 in NASCAR. And I truly do believe that at that point, he will capture some of these oval wins. Will that make him a NASCAR Hall of Famer? I think so. If SVG ends his career probably, let's just say, with 14 career wins over the course of, 7 to 8 years? 14 wins? What he's done on road courses, born in New Zealand? I think he's got Hall of Famer written all over it. The dude nearly is untouchable on a road course. Untouchable. And as Phil said in the Blown Engine chat line, SVG all day complained about his car. My car's terrible. Well, guess what? He still ends up pulling off the win. Still pulls off the win. He has become a legitimate human cheat code on these road courses. It's almost like when you play like a video game and it's like you have ratings for like players. His rating probably in a NASCAR game when you go to a road course would be like a 99. Everybody else would probably be at like 92 and below. Him would be like a 99. It's insane what he has been able to accomplish on these road courses. Between the intervals, what he did this past season at Watkins Glen already. I mean, this dude literally goes out there and he's like the only driver, in my opinion, that could end up winning a stage, get behind the pit strategy, and still climb through the field and still win the race. And we saw it at Watkins Glen. This past week at Sonoma, we didn't see it. But at the same, he basically pitted before the stage ended up closing so he can come back out in the front of the field when this, basically when the stage started. But again, he is the only driver I could tell you right now that could end up going out there, winning the stage on a road course, end up getting, coming out probably 20th in the pits after a pit cycle and go through the field and still win the race. It's unheard of. The only time that SVG is not a threat on a road course is A, when he gets wrapped up in a wreck like we saw at San Diego, or B, when he has a mechanical issue. And I don't even want to say a mechanical issue, like his car is just not on point like we saw at COTA this past year. He still finished second at COTA, but the point is that his car was not able to pass Reddick. It just was not as good as Reddick's. It's the only time that SVG's beatable on a road course. And I guess the question is has the field caught up to SVG? I think in qualifying and practice, yeah, sure. I'll give him that. Qualifying. In the race? I don't think so. I think you probably got 2 more years of SVG total dominance on road courses. And from what rumors have and our trusted sources with the rumors, we could be back to 5 road courses next year. There's a lot of SVG wins there. Again, don't hate the player, hate the game. You're just mad right now that this guy's just beating your favorite driver on a road course. But like I said, the more impressive thing with me with SVG at this point is his becoming better on the ovals. There's some ovals that he struggles at, but he's still learning. Remember, this guy did not come through the system. This guy did not come through as a 20-year-old prospect coming through the Craftsman Truck Series or the O'Reilly Series to make it to the Cup. He straight up came over from supercars in New Zealand and had to learn a whole different style of racing. And within, I would say, what has it now been? In 2.5 years of full-time racing, yeah, he's gotten much better. He's 14th in the points, folks. We're getting close to that chase cutoff line at Daytona next month. Do I think that SVG is a chase driver? I'm going to go out on the limb and say yes. I think SVG makes the chase. I think he will have enough points. I think he's done enough by these 2 wins. And I think with his development on the ovals, at this point, with the way that the field's been a whole roller coaster-esque this whole entire season, minus the top 6 in the points, top 7, I'll put Buescher in there. I think SVG has enough talent to get it done this year. I think he makes the chase in the first season back on the chase format. Let's get to the Blown Ninja Challenge. We got Phil who checks back in again. He goes, just wait until SVG wins 2 next year and breaks Jeff Gordon's record. Well, I mean, yeah, Phil, I mean, that's a good point. It's a good point, right? He's 2 wins away from the road course record set by Jeff Gordon. Now, I guess the interesting thing, in my opinion, Jeff Gordon has, what? Is it 9 or 10 wins on road courses? Where Gordon only had 2 road courses a year. SVG has had basically 5 on the schedule minus this year, where he's got 4. So he's got he had more opportunities to win on road courses, of course. Gordon's only done it. Gordon only had 2 opportunities. I think what Gordon did was more impressive than what SVG's doing, just because of the chances and the opportunities of road course races on the schedule. That does not mean that SVG is a slouch on a road course at all, because I still think it's massively impressive. And I still think, like, I look back at Watkins Glen. Thanks, Phil. 9 wins. Okay. When I look back at what he did at Watkins Glen, like, I mean, the dude was 28 seconds on the final pitch strategy on lap 76. That race was 90 laps. Came through the field and still won the race by, I think it was 8-second intervals. I don't think Jeff Gordon would have done that. But at the same time, I would have loved to see Jeff Gordon have as many road courses on the schedule that SVG did. How many road courses do I think Jeff Gordon would have won? If late 90s NASCAR, early 2000s NASCAR had that many road courses? Definitely not 9. Could have seen Jeff probably win 15. Definitely would have had a lot more wins. All right. Next up on the slate, like I said, and again, if you're listening to us live on Facebook and YouTube, feel free to blow in the chat line wide open for you during this conversations tonight. We just talked about SVG and his dominance on the road course. But the big question for our fans that are just tuning in right now, has Sonoma lost its door? Has Sonoma lost its door? And as I've been saying all night, what we saw on Sunday was a total C- race, in my opinion. C-. Wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched in my life. Sure as hell wasn't the best thing I watched in my entire life. The atmosphere wasn't great. Let's just say that. Atmosphere was not great. But one thing I will not take away is what we saw at the end of this race on Sunday. And we were bragging about how great SVG was in this race. 74 laps led. Another road course win under his belt. But the thing was what Briscoe was able to do in this race too. And yes, Toyotas have been bat fast all season long. But the one driver, in my opinion, that in that Toyota camp that has been non-existent has been Chase Briscoe. Now, he's been very consistent over the course of the stretch lately, and he's been able to climb himself up. I mean, he was off to a horrendous start, and Briscoe ended up climbing up to 11th in the points. Now, the one thing I will say with Briscoe was, I thought he had him. I did. I thought he had him on the last lap, but that turn 11 is so tricky, right? You can go in as hard as you can, but if you do that, you could slip, end up knocking into somebody, and basically spin yourself out. We've seen that over the course of time, right? Tony Stewart on his last win. Hamlin was leading. Stewart ends up basically running into him, and in turn 11, ends up getting the win. That turn 11 is very tricky, and yes, as a viewer on television, I'm like, Chase, come on. Like, why didn't you just send it? Just send it. Just, tap him and spin him out and go get the win. But it's not as easy as just doing that. I did think Briscoe raced him very cleanly. I was very impressed on the way that Briscoe was able to catch up to him. And he did put a lot of pressure on SVG late in this race. He did. That SVG, we were just talking about his win at Watkins Glen, was a non-contest. This past week, it was very competitive. I'm hoping to see more from the driver at the 19. Like I say, he's 19th he's 11th in the points right now. I expected, in my personal opinion, to see more out of Briscoe. I thought he would have at least had 2 wins under his belt going into this part of the season. But again, rough start to start the season off, and he's been finding himself lately. But a couple tracks coming up that could favor him. I like him a lot over the next couple weeks. I gotta give credit to Chase Briscoe a lot. That was a really interesting race from the driver. I know, again, when you start in the top 10, your car's in the front of the field, you're expected to finish in the front, but to be able to run SVG down, that was pretty impressive. So a lot of credit to Chase Briscoe. Next up, let's get to the Blown Edge chat line. Excuse me, folks. Next up on the slate, or as Phil said on the Blown Edge chat line, he goes, SVG is a driver with a God code activated. Chase Elliott was on the path to do it, and the field has lapped him now. I'm going to talk about Chase Elliott in a minute, because there was a thought of mine after watching this race that I want to bring to the audience tonight. But the next driver I was going to talk about this evening was Ty Gibbs. And, won the pole at Sonoma. Won stage 1, won stage 2. Horrible strategy. Ty Gibbs and his crew lost this race for him. I don't know what their thinking was by going out and winning stages. I mean, even if you won stage 1, again, Gibbs finished 3rd in this race. Even if you win stage 1, whatever, you had time to make it back up. But to go out there and intentionally win both stages, it put him behind the 8 ball. It really did. After the start of the final stage, you're sitting like 20th. Now, granted, you have the fresher tires. You end up going through the field. You end up catching up to everybody, and you put yourself in the top 5. That's great. But Ty Gibbs had a lot of speed on Sunday. Opened this race up with a big lead. Now, granted, SVG was able to figure everything out. But the point is that it's like, you're out there to go beat SVG. And to me, Ty Gibbs had the car to do it. Ty Gibbs had the car to go beat SVG on Sunday, but his crew's errors, the analytical errors that his crew made by having him win both stages, ended up screwing everything up. And, again, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback and sit on a podcast and talk about how he screwed everything up. I get it. but wrong call on that whole entire race. I get it. You go out there and win stage 1, whatever. You go get the 10 points, and then you go for the win. You go for the win at that point. But to go in and win stage 2 and then put yourself down to 20th on the restart of the final stage, and let's call it as is. Sonoma is a track that rarely has cautions, minus the stage breaks. Yes, there was one the other day that involved Josh Berry and company. But that's because there was dirt on the track. They had to throw the caution in that race. They had to. But this track does not produce natural cautions. And you're putting your driver, who has a very good car, into basically the hornet's nest the whole entire time by starting 20th on a restart and forcing him to climb through the field. Granted, he had fresher tires and he had a very fast car. But fighting these guys that are like from 19th all the way to 5th, and he's fighting these guys left and right, it's like you're wearing on the car, you're tearing the tires down, and SVG's got clean air. SVG at that point is cruise sailing. I am very disappointed with Ty Gibbs' crew this past week. I really am. And it just sucked because I do think that when they look back at this tape from this past weekend, they're going to realize the only ones that, SVG just didn't win this race. We lost this race. Again, I get it. You won a stage. You collected 10 points. That's great. But you do that in stage 1 and then figure the strategy out the rest of the way. Maybe you live and die by the strategy. I know crews were only had 4 sticker tires throughout the race. But it just sucks, man. It's just like, maybe you go out there, you win stage 1, you put fresh tires on, and then maybe you shorten stage 2, you short pit with the rest of the field once you climb back up, and then you put yourself in an opportunity to go catch SVG. It's a lot easier with that car to go catch SVG when you're sitting 7th in the running order than it is when you're sitting 20th. You're just giving SVG an opportunity to run away. And that's the whole point of everything from this Sunday. The thing I gathered the most is that SVG is a cheat code. As Phil said on the Blend End chat line, he is a God code activated, 100%. But you also, as a crew chief, know that you have a driver who does not make mistakes on these road courses. Rarely makes mistakes. And if you give him clean air, it's just going to become impossible to go catch the leader. Why not put your driver in the advantage to go out there and beat him? And that's one thing Ty Gibbs' team did not do on Sunday. They didn't give him a chance with a very fast car to go beat SVG. And that's something, in my personal opinion, that the 54 team is going to sit there and look back on the tape, and they're going to look in the mirror and go, damn, that was ours. That was ours to lose, and we lost it. Phil checked back in on the Blend End chat line. He goes, I think they wanted the stage wins to get those 10 points and add the 34 points that he finished with as a 54-point day, and they're racing for chase position. That is true. That is true. But while I don't disagree with your opinion, win a stage, that gets you 10. You win the race, that's 55 points. Now you got 65. And I know you're in contention. Like, Ty Gibbs is in contention to win this championship. He is. Right now, Ty Gibbs sits, 4th in the points. So, and we've heard many drivers talk about this chase format. Top 6 drivers, if you're not in the top 6 drivers, you really don't have a shot at winning the chase unless you go on an immaculate run like Tony Stewart did in 2011. But that's rare. Gibbs is a legit chase contender. What I would have done as crew chief is, hey, we win a stage, we're going to win stage 1. You're on the pole, you're going to win stage 1. That's the easiest one to capture it. Then we're going to put you in a strategy to go out there and then go beat SVG for the win. That gives you 65 points. Again, he didn't have a bad points day. He had a 54-point day, which is great, right? In comparison, he was the second highest earning point driver of the day, only behind SVG with 63. But 54 points, you left 9 more points on the board. You left 9 more points on the track. And that's where, like I said, I would have given him the opportunity to go out there, win stage 1, sitting on the pole, win stage 1, completely. That you're good. Go for the win. Go for the win. Again, Sonoma is a tricky track to begin with. Really no natural cautions. They spread out so much on that track at this point. Again, and as I said earlier in the show, it's short shoot. It's become almost a massive assembly line on that track. You weren't going to be in harm's way. Phil, he checked back in again. He goes, I could only guess they did not feel like they could beat SVG and not end with 45 points. I mean, that's fair. I mean, that is fair. I mean, but it's just tough because, I mean, again, you bring up a good point, Phil. And while maybe that's how they felt, and again, it's easy for me to Monday morning quarterback this whole entire conversation sitting on the podcast. I'm not in the pit box with them. I'm not the one doing the analytical draws. I'm not, but at the same time, as a viewer, it's like I saw the 54 with speed. We saw the 54 with speed all throughout the race. Final restart, the final stage, to start the final stage, he was 20th on the restart, ended up climbing up to 3rd. His teammate was chasing down SVJ. It's just tough. It's just tough. And like I said, for me, it's just like, for me, it looked like he had a race-winning car. So, all right. Next driver I wanted to discuss this evening is the one Chase Elliott. Phil kind of brought that up earlier in the Blend Edge chat line. Again, Blend Edge chat line wide open for everybody listening to us on Facebook and YouTube Live. Feel free to comment anything on the topics that we have. But Chase Elliott. And, at one point, like Phil was saying, Chase Elliott was on the path to do it. And, that God code activated on the path to do it. And the field has lapped him now. I'm watching this race, and I was texting a good friend of mine who's a big Chase Elliott fan, as well as myself. And I just looked at, I texted him, I said, it's over. I said, this road course king that everyone still deems him as, it's completely over, guys. Chase Elliott is a non-factor on road courses. Complete non-factor at this point. At one point, we would go to Watkins Glen. And it was almost nearly like impossible to stop this guy. Right? He hasn't won a road course race since July 4th, 2021 at Road America. Realistically, he could have had 3 road course wins in 2022 in the first year of the next gen. Road America, Watkins Glen, and the Roval. Roval has a caution, ends up screwing him. Watkins Glen gets ran off the track by Larson. And then, of course, he just didn't have the car to beat Tyler Reddick up at Road America in 2022. But ever since the injury, it was just like, oh my God, he's just been non-existent. And it's weird because Sonoma, he's had a really good average finish at in the next-gen car. But for fans to continue thinking that this guy's got a shot, that Chase Elliott has a shot on these road courses, you're delusional now. And he's progressively gotten worse year after year after year. And I do credit this next-gen car, right? And he has been open about it, saying, he struggles with this car a lot. Because, again, the last car, he could force issues. This one, he actually has to be tactical. The one thing that made Chase Elliott extremely successful on the road courses was entering and exiting the braking zones quicker than anybody else. If you look back at those Watkins Glen wins in 2018, 2019, I mean, the way that he used to just turtle hop and used to get out of those turns quickly, now it's like everybody else is doing the same exact thing Chase Elliott does. The whole field caught up to him. And now it's almost like, all right, SVG is the one that it's like, we got to learn from SVJ. Excuse me. Chase Elliott, again, he's just been a non-factor. Now, granted, he had a good strategy on Sunday. I will say that. He had a good strategy on Sunday. He was in the top 10 for a good portion of this race, but ended up getting caught up with nonsense. When Hamlin got put into the dirt when Hamlin spun. Then Chase Elliott spun in the short shoot. What is going on with the driver of the 9 on road courses? But I don't know if it's what's been going on. I just think that this is who he is on road courses at this point. It sucks. I remember when the 2021 schedule came out and they had all those road courses. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna win all these roads. He's gonna have like 9 wins next year. Chase Elliott's only got 2 road course wins since 2021. 2. And both of them came in the previous generational car. Do I think that Chase Elliott will ever get back to the road course rainer that he once was? I mean, he might. He might. Some drivers end up stalling out. They come back and they're strong again. But I just feel like everything that made Chase Elliott successful at the road course, it's just not there anymore. Or the field's doing the same exact thing at a much better, faster pace. All right. Let's talk about next topic we're going to talk about. Well, we had the round 1. Round 1 of the in-season challenge this past week. And again, TNT's portion of the season. We have that in-season challenge that started last year. Kind of fun, in my personal opinion. Last year we had Ty Gibbs. What was it? Ty Gibbs versus Ty Dillon at Indy. There was a running joke last year, or there was a running joke because Denny Hamlin got knocked out by Ty Dillon last year. And guess who matched up with each other in round 1 this year? It was Denny Hamlin and Ty Dillon. And at one point in this race, it was like, Denny's running away with this, like, no doubt about it. But then Denny spun, and you're like, oh my gosh, not again. Ty Dillon's going to beat Denny Hamlin in this tournament. And you're just sitting there laughing because you're like, here it goes again. Here it goes again. And but it didn't happen. Denny Hamlin ended up finishing 26th in this race. Ty Dillon finished 35th, so Hamlin ended up advancing. But the rest of the bracket right now, pretty interesting. Tyler Reddick was a driver that we really did not hear from this past week. And we'll talk about Reddick after the in-season tournament bracket discussion because Reddick, man, we have a new points leader. But in the in-season tournament, right, Reddick had mechanical issues on Sunday. He finished 36th in this race. He was matched up against 32nd Alex Bowman. Bowman actually advanced. Bowman beat Tyler Reddick. Austin Cindric ended up beating Brad Keselowski. That was a 16-17 matchup. That was close for a while, right? You had 13th against 15th. Daniel Suarez was matched up against Todd Gilliland. Todd Gilliland advanced. He finished 29th in this race. Suarez finished 31st, so you had Gilliland. He advanced into the next round. That was a big shocker in my personal opinion because Suarez, first career win, came from Sonoma, was racing well, just had issues in this race. But even with all the issues, nearly almost got past the first round, but Todd Gilliland made the upset. Carson Hocevar ended up knocking out Zane Smith. Hocevar finished 11th. Zane Smith finished 18th. And then we had Chase Briscoe, 12 against 21 against AJ Allmendinger. Briscoe ended up advancing. Ty Gibbs advanced over Austin Dillon. Here's another upset for you in your bracket, folks. Michael McDowell ends up knocking out Bubba Wallace. Now, this, to me, I don't know if necessarily this was an upset itself because McDowell's a better road course racer. I wish that we didn't open up with Sonoma because I wanted to see how far Bubba could have made it. But, again, you got to play the games. You got to run the races. Unfortunately, Bubba Wallace ended up running into Sonoma, and Michael McDowell, who is a really good road course racer, ends up knocking him out. Even though I just shit on him, Chase Elliott ends up knocking out Noah Gragson. Chase Elliott ends up finishing 17th. Gragson finished 32nd. And before I end tonight's episode, I have a question for the audience as well. We talked about Hamlin. He ends up knocking out Ty Dillon. Eric Jones ends up knocking out Joey Logano by one spot. Finished 23rd. Logano finished 24th. Logano was actually good in the beginning parts of this race. Chris Buescher knocks out John Hunter Nemechek. Buescher finished 19th. Nemechek finished 25th. Christopher Bell knocks out Ross Chastain. Bell finished 5th in this race. Chastain finished 14th. Not terrible for Chastain, but unfortunately, Bell was the much better driver. William Byron knocked out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That was an 11-22 matchup. And then we had Kyle Larson knocked out Riley Herbst. Shane Van Gisbergen knocks out Ryan Preece. This one sucks. This sucks for... if you're a Preece fan, you got to be like, oh, come on. Like, of course. Like, if we don't... Just like with Bubba Wallace. If it's not Sonoma, Ryan Preece advances this week. Unfortunately, it's Sonoma. Preece ends up getting knocked out. And Preece had a great day. Preece finished 8th. That's not bad for the driver of the 60 car. And then last but not least, Ryan Blaney ends up knocking out Josh Berry. So going back to Tyler Reddick, right? So I think everybody, Phil, you checked in. You said Suarez shocked me with his terrible run. Totally agree. I think Suarez was a big upset, but Reddick obviously was a big upset with Alex Bowman. Why? Well, one, Reddick is a very good road course racer. Two, Bowman can be a consistent low-tier top 10 driver. But at the same time, Reddick, you expect more from a road course. Mechanical failures. Ends up regulating him down to 36 in this race. Bowman finished 10th. That was a great day. But necessarily speaking, this might have been the worst weekend for Tyler Reddick. This is the first time since Daytona we have a new points leader. Denny Hamlin. Hamlin is now first in the points. He caught him. And with all the success and all the conspiracy theories and everyone with the tinfoil hats, oh, you don't understand, Matt. Like, NASCAR and that lawsuit rigged the races for Tyler Reddick. Well, guess what? Denny Hamlin's the points leader. And for me with Tyler Reddick, right, it's not necessarily, in my personal opinion, like Reddick has, had a few bad weeks. Michigan, obviously DNF. Sonoma had mechanical issues. Ends up going back on the track multiple laps down. San Diego last week, he finished 25th. Ended up having the tire. He blew a tire. Ends up, finishing. Unfortunately, able to only finish 25th. But Reddick hasn't been bad. Reddick had those 5 wins. His last win coming at Kansas. But Reddick, since Kansas, finished 14th at Talladega, finished 4th at Texas, finished 5th at the Glen, 4th at Charlotte, 6th at Nashville, 35th at Michigan, 2nd at Pocono, 25th at San Diego, and 36th at Sonoma. So he's he's on a downslide right now. The last couple weeks, the last 3 out of 4 weeks, finished 30th or worse. But the rest of the season has been very consistent. The problem is that his boss has just been on the most immaculate run I think we've seen in NASCAR in a very long time. In a very long time. Denny Hamlin, what he has accomplished over the last basically month or 2 months, right? Finished 2nd at Texas behind Chase Elliott. 16th at the Glen, not a road course racer. But this is where he really this is where he basically started slashing Reddick's lead. 3rd at Charlotte. 1st at Nashville. 1st at Michigan. 1st at Pocono. Win, win, win. 55 points, 55 points, 55 points. Yes, he finished 26th at Sonoma, but he finished 14th at San Diego. So where Reddick is having, finishes below 30th, Hamlin does not finish below 30th. The last time Denny Hamlin finished a race below 30th was the Daytona 500. 31st. That is it. That is his worst finish on the season. His second worst was this past Sunday, 26th at Sonoma. The rest of them, he has finished 15th or higher. Or, 16th or higher, because he finished 16th at the Glen. That is where Denny Hamlin has basically been slashing this lead. Now, granted, yes, we have a new points leader in Denny Hamlin, but it's only by 1 point. It's only by 1 point. I'm interested to see now that we're out of the road courses. To me, this is where the real season starts. This is where, to me, Denny Hamlin could really, really start pulling away with this lead. We have Chicagoland, we have Atlanta, we have North Wilkesboro, Indy, Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, Daytona. Now, Reddick can be very successful too. There's no doubt about it. But give me Denny Hamlin now. We might be in Denny Hamlin's season, in Denny Hamlin's world, and the rest is history. This is the year for the driver of the 11 to get it done. So those are our final points this past week coming out of Sonoma. Again, I opened up the show to all of our fans with the question, has Sonoma lost its lure? Again, we still have a chance, still opportunities out there to hear your opinion while we continue discussing tonight. Again, I gave this race a C-. Nothing special, nothing great. Wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched, but it wasn't the best thing. One thing I will give credit to, as I close out Sonoma, TNT. Man, it's so good to have Marty Smith back on air. It's so good to have Marty Smith back on a NASCAR broadcast, right? He was there for a long time with NASCAR on ESPN. And this week, like I said, it was so good to hear him back on the set. And I really did like the pre-race. I mean, like I said, Marty Smith, Jimmy Johnson, Jamie McMurray, I thought all three of them did a really good job. Really excited to see what TNT can build as we head to Chicagoland, Atlanta, North Wilkesboro, and Indy on their portion of the schedule. But it was awesome to see Marty Smith back on the air because I think the dude's one of the most knowledgeable NASCAR guys I could ever call. Would love to see Ryan McGee back on NASCAR, but just happy to see Marty Smith there. But all right, that's going to close us out in Sonoma this evening. Let's get to the points, and then we will discuss our picks as we head to Chicagoland. So, as I discussed, Denny Hamlin, your new points leader, plus 1 point over Tyler Reddick, who is in second place. Ryan Blaney's in third. Ty Gibbs is in fourth. Kyle Larson's in fifth. Chase Elliott is in sixth. Chris Buescher's in seventh. Carson Hocevar is in eighth. Daniel Suarez is in ninth. Christopher Bell's in 10th. Chase Briscoe is in 11th. William Byron's in 12th. Bubba Wallace is in 13th. Shane Van Gisbergen is in 14th. Ryan Preece is in 15th. And Austin Cindric is in 16th. So those are your chase drivers at the current moment. Eric Jones, he ended up sliding out of the chase format. He was hot for a little bit, ends up sliding out. He now currently sits 17th in the points. Brad Keselowski is 18th. AJ Allmendinger is in 19th. And now we have Joey Logano, who is officially in 20th. And again, I told my Logano fans, chalk it up. We're done. Not your season. You're not going to be a championship threat. Not even going to be a chase driver. But in regards to drivers under the cut, who do I think can make it? I still like Brad a lot. I still believe in Brad Keselowski. I think that the next 4 weeks could really be nice Brad races. But I did say that about our Amazon Prime stretch, and he completely struggled in that. But I do like Brad coming up over the next few weeks. Eric Jones, I'm interested to see where the 43 is at. I know we had a couple road course races the last 2 weeks. They're not road course drivers at all over at Legacy, primarily Eric Jones himself. So I'm interested to see if the speed's going to pick back up when we head out to Chicagoland. I'm interested to see if he's able to maintain and sustain that going into the chase as well. So Eric Jones, Brad Keselowski are some of the drivers I'm keeping an eye on. Like I said, Logano, I'm completely fading at this point. Cindric, I do think he ends up falling apart late in the season, in the regular season. But drivers below, I mean, drivers in the 20s. I look at a driver like Ross Chastain. I'm still waiting for Watermelon Man to start picking it up. Currently sits 22nd in the points, 356 total points. Cindric's at 401. Got a tough sled ahead, but I still believe in Ross Chastain. But those are your points coming out of Sonoma, with a new points leader as we head into Chicagoland. And that's going to take us to our green and white checker flag tonight on the topic of Sonoma. And let's head into our picks this week for Chicagoland. So in the preseason, Jake and I, we had this beautiful running list of drivers we think are going to win races, all that type of stuff. We've been pretty actually. Jake has picked 2 race winners so far this season. He's gotten Chase Elliott at Martinsville, and he's gotten Denny Hamlin at Pocono. For myself, only driver I got I got Tyler Reddick at COTA, so I got 2 of them. I got Reddick at COTA, and I got Chase Elliott at Martinsville. So let's continue our picks. That we had from the preseason. Jake's not online, so I won't be able to ask him if he's going to change his pick this week at Chicagoland, which was Kyle Larson. And if you remember correctly, we could be getting a side job coming up very soon this weekend, which hopefully happens. But he picked Kyle Larson. I picked Denny Hamlin. For me, I'm going to stick with Denny Hamlin. So according to DriverAverage.com, again, we have not raced at Chicagoland since 2019. Quite frankly, what's very scary about is how much time has gone between Chicagoland races. We have a lot of drivers in the field that have never raced at this track. It's going to be really interesting, right? And everyone goes, "Oh, Chicagoland is very similar." Chicagoland, to my opinion, is very similar to Kansas and Vegas. Yes and no. Remember, that backstretch is not completely straight; it's curved. That backstretch is curved, by the way. So, in my opinion, with Chicagoland. I wasn't excited when they announced that Chicagoland was coming back on the schedule. I wasn't. Quite frankly, I didn't really care about it. I was actually happy it was gone off the schedule. But I do know NASCAR wants to keep a presence in that area, so they put it back on. But I'm sticking with Denny Hamlin. And again, according to DriverAverage.com, their stats on intermediate and large oval tracks since 2023, Hamlin's got the best average finish at 9.4. In 40 races since 2023 on these type of tracks, he's got 8 wins, 24 top 5s, 30 top 10s, 1,397 laps led with an average start of 8.9, and he's got 6 poles. I think the streak continues on Sunday with Denny Hamlin at Chicagoland. I think he is going to be an unstoppable force, and now that he's got the points lead, this is a really nice stretch for him to start breaking it open. I love Denny Hamlin this week, and I'm sure Jake loves Kyle Larson in this spot too. Kyle Larson is the second best driver on intermediate and large oval tracks since 2023. Larson, in 39 races, has 6 wins, 19 top 5s, 25 top 10s, and 1,786 laps led, right? For me, you can't go wrong with Kyle Larson. You can't go wrong with Denny Hamlin this upcoming week. I think those are going to be the creams of the crop. I'm just interested to see if the Hendrick Chevys can keep up with the Toyotas. That's going to be the storyline for me this weekend. Drivers I'm going to keep an eye on, or a driver I'm going to keep an eye on this weekend. One I like. For me, I like Chris Buescher this week. I like Buescher. I think Buescher sitting in 7th in the points, very consistent, right? Massively consistent. Since 2023 on these type of tracks, he's got a 13.8 average finish with 1 win, 6 top 5s, 15 top 10s, and 157 laps led. Nearly won Kansas a couple years ago. If there's ever a week for RFK Racing to start showing up, it might actually be this week. This is an unknown track for a lot of drivers. You might be able to leapfrog a couple of these drivers in the field, get yourself in a good position, qualify well, get those cars in the front. That's the problem with RFK Racing right now. RFK Racing has just had such an issue, in my opinion, with qualifying. If they can just get the cars and qualifying in the front of the field, they shouldn't have a problem. I like Buescher as a driver to watch. So my final one, let's go with the dark horse. Necessarily, I don't know if he classifies as your typical dark horse, but with the way he's been running in the points this year, I'm going with Ross Chastain as my dark horse. Driver that has never he has run this track, but not with a top tier team. But the one thing about Trackhouse Racing is that at one point they were really good at the 1.5s. There's no doubt about it. They had a ton of speed on these 1.5s. This is a week for me, I think Chastain breaks loose. Before Sonoma, he's been starting to put himself back in good position and good graces again. According to DriverAverages.com, why do I like Chastain as a dark horse? Since 2023, he's got a 16.6 average finish on these type of tracks with 3 wins, 10 top 5s, 15 top 10s, 433 laps led. That's including Vegas, that's including Kansas, that's including Charlotte, that's including Atlanta, that's including all of them, right? I like Chastain because, like I said, I've been waiting for Trackhouse to kind of open up. Hopefully that this is a good reset week for them as they start getting closer to the chase format. So Driver I'm picking as my race winner is Denny Hamlin. One I'm keeping an eye on is Chris Buescher. And a driver as my dark horse is going to be Chastain. So, all right, folks. With all that being said, tonight we're going to take our checkered flag on this evening's episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Again, I appreciate everyone chiming on the blended chat line this evening. Phil, thank you very much. If you love what you're hearing, follow us on Facebook at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, on YouTube at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. And again, if you miss our live stream on Wednesday nights, feel free to follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. You'll be able to listen to our episodes on those streaming platforms if you miss our live episode. Again, we appreciate everyone who's with all the love, the support throughout the season. Hoping to have Jake back on next week. It's been 2 weeks too long. Just looking forward to having him back on air. So, again, thank you so much for everyone and appreciate all the love and the support. We will chat next week. Happy 4th of July to all of you. If you're going to Chicagoland, enjoy the race. First time back there since 2019. But if you're not, enjoy it wherever you're watching. With all that being said, have a wonderful night. Be safe, be blessed, and we'll chat next week. Good night.
Will you tell Mr. Dennett that Ricky Bobby is my best friend? And it's shaking big time.